And good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday morning, and welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma, and it's good to have you back. I'm running a little bit late this morning. I was up really late last night doing a radio program, as a matter of fact, a syndicated radio program that airs in like 48 countries. And it was a very exciting program, and just really enjoyed that. But boy, I was just wiped out this morning. Well, anyway, we are taking a look at the eschatology of Thessalonians. We will be focusing in upcoming sessions on 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, 13 and following, which of course to many people is the crux interpretum of the entire Thessalonian corpus. So what we're attempting to do is to see what Paul had to say about eschatology leading up to that. We will also, before we focus on 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, we will also take a look at what he says in 2 Thessalonians. So what we're going to do is take a look at what he says before 1 Thessalonians 4, what he says after 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, to see the entire surrounding context of eschatology, to see if we can help determine how it relates to 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. We asked the question in a previous segment. Now, if we are able to determine in the references before 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 and in the passages after 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, i.e. in 2 Thessalonians, if we were able to determine that all of those refer to the Lord's coming in AD 70, would that be 100% proof that Paul could not be talking about something different in 1 Thessalonians 4? No, it's not 100% proof. However, if in the passages beforehand, the passages afterward, if there is a unanimous agreement that they refer to AD 70, and then in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, we have the exact, precise, same motifs, themes, verbiage, and time frame that we do in all of these other passages, then we can determine that 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 must be the same as these other texts. Well, I want you to notice a very fascinating, it's a short statement. What's interesting to me about this statement is that most scholars agree that Paul is echoing a given Old Testament prophecy. Paul, in writing to the Thessalonians, chapter 3, says, "Now may our God and Father himself and our Lord Jesus Christ direct our way to you, and may the Lord make you increase and abound in love to one another and to all, just as we do to you." Now watch this. "So that he may establish your hearts blameless in holiness before our God and Father at the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ with all his saints." Now, most scholars are agreed. Most, quote, critical scholars, unquote, who investigate intertextuality, that is, the relationship of one text to another, they agree that Paul is echoing, if not directly citing, Zechariah. Now, by the way, the coming of the Lord with his saints is a very common Old Testament motif. Deuteronomy 33, verse 1 and 2, at the giving of the law at Mount Sinai, it is said that Yahweh came with 10,000s of his saints. Well, nobody saw 10,000 saints there in that manifestation of Yahweh's glory. But in other passages, the coming of the Lord with his saints is, as we've demonstrated on other occasions, when Yahweh manifested his sovereignty by using one nation against another nation. Well, look at Zechariah chapter 4. I'm just going to jump in here. Pardon me. Zechariah chapter 14, verse 5. "Thus the Lord my God will come, and all the saints with you." Okay, so here we have the coming of the Lord with all of his saints. But what's the context? Well, behold, the day of the Lord is coming. Verse 5, the coming of the Lord with all of his saints is the day of the Lord. Behold, the day of the Lord is coming. Your spoil will be divided in your midst, for I will gather all the nations to battle against Jerusalem. The city shall be taken, the houses rivaled, the women ravished. Half the city shall go into captivity, but the remnant of the people shall not be cut off from the people. The day of the Lord of Zechariah 14 is the day of the Lord coming with all of his saints. But the day of the Lord of Zechariah 14 is the coming of the Lord in judgment of Jerusalem. That occurred in AD 70. Now, if it's true that Paul in 1 Thessalonians chapter 3, verse 13, is citing, alluding, drawing from Zechariah, bringing that prophecy to the mind of the Thessalonians, then there can be little doubt that he has the impending fall of Jerusalem in mind. When we couple that with the reality that back in 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, 15 and following, he has spoken of the impending judgment on the Jews, then it is incredibly powerful, and it helps us set the context of the coming of the Lord of 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 in the context of the impending judgment of Israel and Jerusalem in AD 70. So, the coming of the Lord with all of his saints is taken from Zechariah and echoes that prophecy. But Zechariah was a prophecy of AD 70. Therefore, 1 Thessalonians 3 was AD 70. In order to discount that, in order to falsify that, a person will have to demonstrate that Paul has something different from the coming of the Lord in Zechariah. A coming of the Lord different in nature, pardon me, from the text that he echoes. The question is, where's the proof of that? Hey, I developed this in my book, We Shall Meet Him in the Air, The Wedding of the King of Kings. I developed this context. I demonstrate that there is really no good textual or contextual reason to delineate between 1 Thessalonians 3:13 and Zechariah. You'll love the development. You'll love the study. Go to my website, eschatology.org, BibleProphecy.com. Order the book, We Shall Meet Him in the Air, The Wedding of the King of Kings. Mention that you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook, and I'll refund your shipping. Thanks so much for joining me. Hey, we got a bunch more. We'll see you on the flip side.